It's okay. Okay, good morning, everybody. Here we are, and what is it? It is Thursday morning, the 3rd, I do believe, of October. How did we get to October? I don't know how we got to October. And as you can probably tell, I'm back in Florida. No longer, you can no longer see the piano behind me as I'm talking to you because the piano is my grandson's. And it's going to be today a very, very busy day because we're having the show this morning. And then this afternoon, we begin with our tutorials. Now, I'm going to say this afternoon, but I'm also going to say this morning as well. A lot of you, I know, have had lessons, you've gone to see different, you maybe gone on different retreats, you've experienced all sorts of different things with different teachers. Some of you have experienced things with me and have been my students also. So what we're doing with our tutorials is we are, first of all, we asked what would people like to, what would people like to learn more about? And we did have an overwhelming, you would think it would be different things, but we did have an overwhelming response to, can we know more about dowsing or the pendulum? It's the same thing. And when we do the tutorial this afternoon, I'm going to tell you that there really isn't a difference. It's the same thing using perhaps different methods, different tools, but we'll talk about that later. But it's interesting because, of course, some of my students will say, yeah, but we've already done that. We want something new. We want something different. Of course, my students who know better know that no matter how many times you can sit in on what might seem to be the same lesson, what might seem to be the same subject, there's always something new to learn. There's always something new, even if you've done it with another teacher, if you've done dowsing, or if you've done the pendulum, if you've done energy work, whatever it is that we're going to be talking about in our tutorials. Many of you may have done it before. Many of you will have not done it with me, so I will be coming at it perhaps from a different approach. And I'm sure I'm going to teach you things that maybe you didn't know, or I might even teach you things where you thought, okay, this is how we do it, and then all of a sudden you might learn, oh, wait a minute, no. Apparently Rosemary's saying, no, do it this way. Others of you might have done lessons before or gone to retreats or become more involved in the spiritual aspect of things, either teaching yourself or having teachers teach you. And I will say something and you say, oh yeah, that's right, because so-and-so said that. So it'll either confirm that what you've done is right, or it will give you food for thought. We're hoping it's going to give you food for thought. However, even so, when we're learning, when we're growing, when we are finding out more and more and more about how to raise our level of consciousness, for instance, how to become more attuned to the spirit world, excuse me, how to become more attuned to our own selves and our own soul. When we learn these things, I have students who say to me, yeah, but we've done that. Yeah, well, you may have done that, but you may have only done that once. And even if you've done it 2 or 3 or 5 times, there is always something new to learn. And it's always good to have reminders for yourselves, because, when you do things, sometimes you get into a habit of doing it this way, and you might forget that, oh, wait a minute, we have to do this as well, or something else as well. So for all of you who have been my students, well, you should know better than to say we've done this before, because there's always something to learn. And as much as I know, and as much as I might know about this subject, and I know a great deal, when we're doing the tutorials, we're going to have Gregor there with us, of course, as we always do. He's here with us this morning. But there's always, even for me, it's amazing how a little tidbit here or a little bit of knowledge there that maybe you knew already but you forgot about, or maybe I didn't know at all and I'm learning something else. I'm learning something new. I'm learning something that can attach to what I already know to make it bigger, better, more. So so we're going to be starting our tutorials this afternoon. In the meantime, let me first just say good morning to all of you. I'd like to say first and foremost good morning to my spirit guide Gregor, who is standing right by my side as always. I'd like to say good morning to Chris. I'd also like to say good morning to all of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And for those of you who can't, which is the same as this show, for those of you who can't make the tutorials, for those of you who will be working, or for those of you who, got kids around or what have you, you will be able to find these out on YouTube. So when you've got a quiet moment to yourself, you can always go in and check it out. The only thing you won't be able to do if you watch a recorded tutorial is you will not be able to ask questions, because after every tutorial we're going to have a few minutes to just to ask questions of anyone who is unsure or unclear about what it is that we're doing. So today we're talking about the pendulum and about dowsing. Some of you will see I've got my little, it's a small little gold thing. This is actually my pendulum. This is what I use as a pendulum. So for those who are getting ready and preparing themselves for this afternoon, I'm going to suggest that many of you may have your own pendulum, many of you may find it works perfectly. I'm going to suggest you can do one of two or three things here. You can find a piece of jewelry. It needs to be on a chain or a string or a length of twine or wool or whatever. It needs to be fine-ish though. It needs to be fine. So you need to be sort of attaching whatever it is you're going to use as a pendulum. You need to be attaching it to something so you can hang it. Now, my suggestion is that whatever it is you're thinking of having, and as I say, many of you will have your own pendulum, whatever you're thinking of having, whatever you think you might be using, I'd like you to remember it needs to be something that is yours, only yours. You can use, if your grandmother left you a beautiful thing, you can use it, but in order to begin and to learn sort of fresh, if you like, if you've not done this before, I'm going to suggest that it's something that is yours, belongs to you, and you can either have a piece of jewelry sort of not too lightweight, or you can make your own. Some people put beads on the end of a string, or some people might I did have somebody who made something out of cork and it was too light, so it needs to be heavy-ish but not heavy. So I'm just preparing you, those of you who are going to be tuning in this afternoon, I'm preparing you. If you can find something, get it ready. You could even actually see these earrings. You could even actually use an earring as a pendulum as well, as long as you can put it on a length of something. The length of something can be really, really long, or it can be, I don't know, whatever that is, 12 inches or something. I don't know. We'll talk about that more later. Right. In the meantime, Chris, I hope I've not been talking all to myself. I hope there are people on the show already. Is there anybody there?
There is, Rosemary. That's so funny. Yeah, we have questions and we have comments already in the chat room.
Well, let's have some of the comments first.
All right. Judith was on bright and early saying, good morning, all. Judy from Georgia. I'm so thankful, Rosemary, that you are able to be here today, and I hope all are safe.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, actually, for all of you who are asking questions about the hurricane, I had two panels on my pool cage go out. I have a fabulous neighbour who came fixed it for me. And luckily, in my area, we did not suffer greatly. Although fairly close to us, well, I'm going to say within about 15 miles or so, people were being affected, especially people who were on the beach, not so much by the hurricane, but by the flooding. And before we go any further, my heart goes out to all of you out there who are suffering. And I heard this morning that FEMA, who have not been anywhere near these people, of course, there many of these areas are poor areas. The people have no money. They're not able to help themselves. They're going without food. They're going without water. And suddenly, after what, a week now, FEMA suddenly announces, well, we don't have the money to help these people. If you don't have the money to help these people, who do you have the money to help? It's disgraceful what is happening, absolutely disgraceful. And the government, well, I'm just I'm disgusted. I am disgusted. However, this is not a political, I'm for this government or that government. However, and you don't see this much on the news because a lot of the news, for instance, we get ABC, NBC, all of those people, they're all about the government that we're in. They are Democrats, every single one of them. When you look at all of the, the stuff that's going on, people, those people who are mediators who are supposed to be biased, of course, are not biased at all. I mean, I just have to shake my head. But most people don't know the fact that Trump is down there in his Wellington boots, wading into the water, giving money to these people, not just dishing out money, because we know Trump can dish out money, he's got plenty of it, but not just dishing out money, his own money, by the way, nobody else's. He's out there and he's amongst these people and he's helping. And where is Biden? Well, he's too old to probably go out there and wait a minute, Trump is the same age or roughly the same. Anyway, what is going on? And I'm just disgusted this morning to hear that FEMA, well, sorry, we got no money. Well, where is the money? What I would like to see is an investigation going on as to why FEMA doesn't have money, because the last I knew, they had billions and billions and billions of other people's money. What's going on? I just find the whole thing absurd, disgraceful. Anyway, and that is as much as I'm going to say about any political stuff. And there's no need for you to comment. I'm not worried whether, if I've offended you, too bad. If I've offended you, then what I'm going to say to you is take a real look at what's happening, because it's not about which party you vote for. It's not about which person you want in as president. It's about people doing the right thing and people who sit on the beach and sun themselves while there are people, their people, the head of this government, sitting sunning himself on the beach while there are people starving, no water. I mean, wow. Yeah, that's all I can say. Anyway, and that is the end of my rant. Chris.
All right, Gary said, "Good morning, Rosemary and all. Prayers to those affected by Mama Nature last week. The
Yes, good
trees are on
morning.
fire with color here in upstate New York."
I'll bet they are. I'll bet they are. My daughter and my grandson are going up there. I think a little bit further north than you, Gary, but not too much further. And the one thing Reese wants to see is the leaves changing color. Yeah, nice. Chris.
Leslie says, "Good morning. Glad you're safe from the bad storm. My
Thank you.
grandmother on my mother's side was angry at life, and now she's on the other side. Is she
Oh,
still angry with us and
oh,
angry in general?
well, we hope not, don't we? Unfortunately, you know, this show is so short, and I don't have time to give. Occasionally, I do, but not often. I don't have time to give personal messages. But I am asking Grey Eagle, and and I am getting here. Here you go. So I'm giving you a personal message. I'm told she's learning, but I'm also told it's going slowly. You know, there are people who are never happy. I was thinking about this morning, and those of you who got my newsletter were aware of my wonderful trip to Costco last week. I shan't be going again anytime soon. But the truth of the matter is that life is, this world of ours is filled with miserable people, but it's also filled with joyous, happy, kind, loving people. Unfortunately, you know, those people who are miserable and miserable in their lives, you know, they have a struggle when they pass into the spirit world. They do have a struggle. So I'm going to tell you that according to Grey Eagle, the wheels are turning, but they are grinding slowly. Chris.
Sharon says, "Hi, good morning, Rosemary.
Hi,
Will you
Sharon.
will you be offering any advice this morning with a couple of questions?"
I might. I don't know. But you can try. I mean, I don't know what's going on. We never know what's going to go on. We never know who's going to come on and and be involved. But you know, we can try. Chris.
Gary says, "I always think of the view from Luella's farm this time of year."
Oh yeah. Oh, how fabulous that view was, and all of the trees turning, and it reminds us that, you know, in Vermont on this particular farm, which was our healing center, my lovely friend and patient Luella, um, you know, wanted this place to be turned into a healing center, and you know, sometimes things work out and sometimes things don't, but we had some amazing experiences on the mountains there, and we saw, I don't know, Gary, if you remember, we had an event. We had a sort of, it was like a long weekend event, Friday to Monday, and we had, because there were so many people coming, we had a like a big, one of those big tents, and everybody was inside there, and it was pouring. It was just pouring and pouring and pouring, to the point where it was so cold we couldn't heat it up. I said, okay, everybody inside, and we all went into the house. We had a blast, but when we went out later, it was amazing because we were on top of a mountain, and look, there was this, you know, 360-degree view all the way around, was beauty everywhere, and we saw so many rainbows. So even though we got cold and wet and we had to go into the house, and actually it turned out really well because we all had a fantastic time. People were sitting on the floors, people, but we didn't care. And we made, you know, I think we made hot chocolate or something. And then when the rain stopped, wow, was it glorious, because we went outside and there were rainbow after rainbow after rainbow. And that was a beautiful, beautiful weekend. You see, there's always, you know, when, as I said in my newsletter, you know, the storm, we were in the storm, we could hardly hear ourselves. It was beating down on this huge tent thing that we had. It was cold, it was shivering, it was freezing, it was, and you could have been so miserable. You could have been sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? And then we all went inside and took off our coats and got to know each other, and we settled down and continued on. And then the rainbows. So there is misery in this world, a lot of it, unfortunately. And we look to, you know, what happened with the floods, the hurricanes, so on and so forth, and those poor people who are suffering. But then there's also joy and there's happiness. And can I just say kudos to all of those people who are going out by themselves. I know there are a lot of people who are going there, taking their trucks, taking whatever, and trying to deliver food and trying to help those people who cannot help themselves. And, it's been such an awful disaster. And, where is the government and where is FEMA and we've been asking that for a week. Haven't you all been asking that for a week? Where is the help? Where is the aid? And it's been individuals who, unfortunately, they can't do enough, but at least they're trying. And it's just an absolutely shocking, in my view, condemnation of a government who is supposed to be caring and taking care of us, and listen to them talking and really talk up a good talk. Wow, no, no, they are not caring or concerned at all, obviously. Otherwise, the army would have been involved. What's going on? The military should have been involved. Why aren't people helping people? I said I'd done ranting. Now I'm just going to stop ranting. I'm going to stop. Chris.
Violet says, "Hi, Rosemary. Hoping everyone is okay after the storm and wishing you and your neighbors well."
Oh, thanks, Violet. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. We're really here. We are so lucky. We're really good, and we did have, we had some high winds and lots of rain and so on, but we managed. Okay.
All right. Then we have a number of hellos and good mornings from Wookie Bear and Judith and Randy and Rhonda and Dean and Jenny. A couple of people were remarking that they couldn't get us on Facebook. And what I will say about that is Rosemary has 3 Facebook accounts. 2 of them are getting this restream. One of them was removed so we could restream onto Twitter or X. So if you had normally gone to the Healing Book Facebook page, we're not going to be restreaming from that anymore because we're only allowed 5 different places to restream from. So I've said all along, please sign up to YouTube. That is your best bet because you can be notified when we go live at any time.
And also, you can go back and back and back and back to check things out. Okay, Chris.
All right. Judith said she's looking forward to this afternoon's tutorial, and she'll be using something that belonged to her sister who has passed, and she says she'll make it mine.
Okay, that's good. Well, if you notice, I'm wearing this because I want, what happens when you wear things, and especially jewelry, is it can literally absorb your energy. And we're going to be talking about energy and what part energy plays in the pendulum, the power of the pendulum, we're calling it, because the pendulum has no power whatsoever, but the person using the pendulum has as much power as they need. I will explain more later today. Chris.
Jenny's asking, can it be like a cross on a chain?
Yes.
She missed everything you'd said, so she's asking.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes, that would be perfect.
All right. Nomi says, we love when you talk. It's so nice to listen and feel the good energies you exchange with us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, keep going, Chris.
Rhonda's saying that the aspens are beautiful right now in Colorado.
I've been to Colorado a few times in the winter. I love Colorado. I really, really love Colorado. One of the reasons I love Colorado is because of the people. It's amazing. It's an amazing place. In I think it's in Boulder. You can ski in the mornings and go play golf if you're so inclined in the afternoon. I mean, it's sort of the temperatures high up are freezing and but beautiful. And then to imagine that you take your skis off, take your coat off, and then off you go play golf. Very nice. But what I love most about Colorado, and I'm speaking of Boulder and 2 or 3 other places I've been in Colorado, the people are amazing. You walk into a store for something, doesn't matter what it is, you're greeted with a smile, but people who live in, why wouldn't you? If you live in Colorado, why wouldn't you smile? Because there's so much. It's an amazing place. It's certainly a place that I might have considered had it been not so far away from my daughter and my grandson. It's certainly a place that I would have considered moving to, because just, well, I guess it has to do with the climate. I guess it has to do with whatever. It's just people are happy. People in restaurants, they go above and beyond helping you. And any store that you go into, they are so kind, so nice, so friendly. It's a beautiful place to be. Chris.
Sharon's asking, is there something secretive going on around me? Also, I feel like some loved ones that passed on may be trying to get a message to me.
Well, then you know what you need to do. You need to you need to book a consultation and sort of go into it a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Right now on the show, it's too big a question for me to even begin to answer, darling. Chris.
She continued saying, I'm looking forward to going live with you for the first time. I saved this in my phone as a reminder for every time you do one. Thank you for your time and your teachings.
Oh, you're welcome. When are we going live? Sorry.
This afternoon at 4.
Oh, okay. Of course. Sorry. Yes, all right. Keep going.
Gary says he has the rainbows from Luella's farm on video.
Oh, really? That was such a spectacular, spectacular day. Okay, keep going.
All right, this is from Judith. Rosemary, please tell the story of coming home with friends up north and things were in disarray and the wild noises going on. It's a chiller.
I'd love to tell it, but I don't remember it. You have to give me a bit more. I don't remember what you're talking about, because, to be honest with you, it's happened a few times to me. Which particular story are you talking about, Chris?
Mary says, I'm not sure if I want a spiritual world anymore. It's not a good idea.
Well, wow, Mary. Um, I don't really know what you mean by that. You would have to be a bit more explicit. Um, we are, whether you want a spiritual world or not, it exists. We are, as Teilhard de Chardin always strums somewhere that name, says, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I always like to tack on to, that's a very famous quote. I always like to tack on to that quote. So it goes, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and my tack on is in a spiritual way. So, you know, we are spiritual beings. We can be having this human experience, but not necessarily in a kind and a caring and what we would consider a spiritual way. We could be having this experience only seeing the misery, only seeing the upsets, only seeing, you know, sort of, I mean, in New York City, there's a particular store that I go into. It's a great store. They have good stuff. It's called Morton's. It's on First Avenue. Giving them a little heads up there. But 3 times now, and it happened to my daughter and my grandson as well. 3 times now when I've gone in, and I don't go every day by any means, but maybe once a week or once every 10 days or something. And for the last 3 times I've gone in, as I'm walking through the door, this lady, older lady, comes pushing out of the door and starts screaming and raging at me that I'm going in the wrong door, and I'm not going in the wrong door. But and she's mean and she's miserable. She get out of the way, this sort of thing, in that tone of voice. And the first couple of times it happened, I tried to say to her, you know, I understand you're having a bad day, but you know, just you know, you need to you need to, pay attention, and I hope the day gets better for you. And she's just walking off, muttering up the street. Some you can't do it. There are some people you just can't do anything for. You can't, no matter how kind or nice you are. And the third time it happened to me, I just let it go because I've only got so much energy and so much time, and I'm happy to help people who want to help themselves. But boy, there are some miserable, miserable people around. Um, that doesn't mean that it's not a spiritual world. It doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that God and our angels aren't watching. It simply means that, there are miserable people on this earth, but I surround myself with good people, nice people, pleasant people. I surround myself with people who are kind and caring and nice. And if I see unkind acts or deeds, then I'm more likely to step up and not in a nice way and say, I know you might be having a bad day today, but uh, I hope the day gets better for you. Anyway, there's joys, there's happiness, there's love, there's hate, there's all of that. So it's called being human. And it makes me sad when I hear somebody say, I don't want a spiritual world anymore. Well, sorry to tell you, darling, but whether you want it or not, you've got it. Chris.
Rhonda says she works in Boulder. And Rosemary, I'm dealing with some issues with my mom. Would my father, who is on the other side, Gray Eagle, or you have any advice for me?
Oh, wow, Rhonda. Okay, I'm not sure you're going to like this too much. I feel that listening to what Gregor is saying, you need to step back a little bit. You need to pay attention to you. Um, as I just said, there are some people we can't help. There are some people that no matter how much we try, we're not going to help them because they don't really want our help. But I think that you're getting too embroiled in things and you need to just step back and give yourself a little. It's okay giving to others. It's okay worrying about what's going to happen with others. Of course it is, and that's what we do. But you need to step back a little bit and give yourself some breathing space. I hope you understand that. Chris, keep going.
Iris is asking, how can I book a private session with you, Rosemary? Thank you in advance.
Well, we have an email, rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. If you just send an email, put in the subject line, excuse me, consultation, and then someone in the office, Chris likely, is going to call you back and say, here are the details, and you can do it all through email with her, and it's very, very simple and very straightforward. And thank you for, wanting to do that. You also could, instead of booking a consultation, you could also come to our November event, November 19th. Get a ticket. You might get, no guarantees, but you just might get a message because we're going to be giving out messages, connecting with our loved ones in the spirit world. We're going to have a blast. Chris.
All right. Violet says, I'll be connecting to your session on dowsing later. Are ley lines real? And if so, what are they?
Oh, okay, I'm not sure that we're going to talk about ley lines today. We did do a session, and I'm not sure, Chris, if people can connect with it. We did do a session about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, on ley lines. Yes, ley lines are real. Yes, ley lines, if we cross them or we don't pay attention to them, can cause disruption and disturbance. People don't pay attention. Years and years ago, of course, everybody paid attention to where they built. The ancients, the monks and the monasteries, if you go to any monastery that's more than a couple of 100 years old, you'll find always, but they're built always by water. They often have certain particular plants that are known to increase or to sort of let's say help protect. It's a complicated issue. This I'm not quite saying it quite right, but ley lines do exist, but nobody cares anymore. We build all over the place. It's no wonder the world is in havoc, because what we're doing with this world of ours and ignoring things like ley lines, ignoring things like power surges and places of energy. We're just building, 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 greed, greed, and more greed. I sent a quote with my newsletter this month, which gives a quote similar to that. I think it's when the last leaf has fallen. I don't remember what it is, but basically, once nature is gone from us, money's not going to buy us any food. Money's not going to buy us any warmth, because we are so destroying this planet of ours by being unaware or deliberately ignoring the fact that we need to pay more attention. Chris.
Let's see. Patricia. Hello, Rosemary. Did you have
Hi,
any
Patricia.
uneasiness on your trip back to Florida, maybe sensing the hurricane?
Um, well, it's funny you should ask that question. Um, my grandson, um, if you all remember that when I went to New York for the summer to be with my daughter and my grandson, I gave a message to a stewardess on the plane, and I saw Jesus Christ standing on the plane. And yes, I know, I'm fully aware how crazy I sound. Not so crazy, really, because he is. Um, his friendship, his love, his caring, his presence is very precious to me. Um, so my grandson called and wanted to know what happened on the trip back, Mosey. What happened? And actually, nothing happened. I didn't have any foreboding. I had great service on the plane as always, and um, it was a very full plane. So we were a little bit squashed up, but I read the whole way home. Um, so did I have any uneasiness? No. Uh, I always think, when I go on a plane, if it crashes, I guess it's my time, and that's the end of that. What can I do about it? I try not to worry about things that haven't happened yet. As far as hurricanes and tornadoes and so on go, it's important that we know that they're coming, or the possibility of them coming, because we can prepare our houses, we can tie stuff down, we can make sure that we're as safe as we can be. But at the end of the day, if it's going to get you, it's going to get you. And worrying about it and worrying as to, are you going to be safe or not, I try not to live my life worrying about what is going to happen, what awful thing is going to happen next. I try not to think about that at all. I try to live in the moment of every day and enjoy the moment of every day. Chris.
Let's see. I think it was Judith again. She was trying to get Gary to participate about the story that she wanted to hear from you. So maybe these details will help you, Rosemary. Um, Gary, you must remember the experience at the farm. I don't remember the women involved, but they came in at night and the house was in disarray and noises were going on. So apparently this all happened at Luella's house up at the farm.
I don't remember. Lots of things. I'm sorry I can't tell you the story, but lots and lots of things happened there, and we had lots of spooky stuff going on. We did have on the farm, we did a long weekend, and on the Saturday night, I invited everybody had gone to our event, which were a lot of people, and I invited them all back to the farm. We had a lot of outdoor space, and the house inside, although it was old and in some disrepair, what have you, it was big enough we could house people. And I can remember sitting There was an enormous sort of lounge stroke, dining room stroke, whatever it was, huge room. And we also turned the garage space into a conference room as well. And so do remember everyone was invited for dinner. I provided dinner, and my lovely friends Richard and Diana Piero also brought food, and we had we all had amazing dinner, 3 courses. Yeah, can you imagine? That's what we did. I made a big roast and roasted potatoes, and Diana and Richard brought chicken, and we had a blast. We had great fun. But then we sat around at night after we'd eaten dinner. Then we sat around telling spooky stories. So maybe that's the story you're talking about. I don't know, but we did have a blast, and there were some spookies. There was some spooky stuff going on. Chris,
Jay Moon says, "Hi, Rosemary and Gray Eagle.
hi Jane.
Since my father has passed, my brother has anxiety disorder and has been diagnosed with some heart problems. He is planning a heart surgery in a few months. Will he be all right, please?"
Um, well, the first thing we can do is you can send us his name, and we'll put him on our healing list and send him healing. But Gregor has his hand on my shoulder. He tells me to tell you not to worry. It's going to be fine. I'm sorry about the anxiety. You know, so many emotional things can cause such physical harm and physical distress, but I think he's going to be fine. Chris.
We have no more questions,
Oh,
Rosemary.
well, that's it then. That's good actually, because I get a really early morning. So then I can prep for this afternoon and get going for this afternoon. So let me think. I will tell you a story. I'm thinking what to tell you. Let's see. Um, Gosh, can you think of any stories?
You want to say Halloween coming up?
What?
Anything about Halloween?
On the what?
Halloween coming up and doing something for that.
Oh, Halloween. Oh, yeah. I've got my friend Mary Lou here. Yes. Yes. We are doing something. You'll see it on the calendar, Halloween. And we always have fun on Halloween. We never quite know what's going to happen. If anybody locally wants to come and sit in with us on Halloween, you never know. You never know what spooky stuff's going on. You never know what stories we might have. But if you would like to join me personally, you can join me online because we'll be doing it online. But if you'd like to join me personally, come to my home and sit with me, and you never know what's going to happen. We could have a lot of fun on Halloween night. If you would like, if you live in the Florida area, the on the west coast, it's an easy drive. You can come, and I can't promise I'm going to feed you. Maybe you'd like to bring some food and feed me. But, certainly we'll have drinks and we'll be online. And last year, Gregor was in a very funny mood, and I was seeing creepy crawlies going all over the floors, and giant spiders, and all sorts of different creatures we had there. I couldn't stop laughing. That was his way of saying, "Oh, let's just have some fun." But we also were able to speak and to give messages to people who, in fact, weren't even here. But I think Mary Lou was here, and we gave a message to her daughter's friend who just lost her husband. So that was pretty good. You never know what's going to go on Halloween night. So if you want to do it, you want to be here with us, just let Chris know. And you can't just come knocking on the door, because I'll need to know who you are, what you are, what are you doing here anyway. But if you want to come and join me on a personal level, there is an invitation going right out to you right now. Chris.
Nomi says, I'm looking forward to your lesson later. It's always great to learn something new and understand energy even more.
Good, I'm glad you'll be joining us. Anything else, Chris?
Violet says, one of my favorite stories Rosemary tells is of the great big hole. It's so funny, but actually quite a serious story. Sleeve actions are required.
All right, I'll tell it. It's not, you'll think I'm a horrible person now. Why have you chosen that story, Violet? It was one of the first times I'd gone to Spiritualist Church. We're going back many, many years now. And uh, Spiritualist churches in England, there are, there's one in pretty much every town, several in every city. And we get some amazing speakers. I've been a speaker at the Spiritualist churches, also gone to different churches on many occasions, and always had a good time. But I went one time to this particular church. I went there because I wanted to ask the elders of the church if we could borrow the church for an event that I was planning, charging a fee, all proceeds going to the church itself. And of course, they jumped at that chance. But so I was there, and we all know that there are charlatans in this world. We all know that there are people who claim to be heart surgeons, they claim to be butchers, they claim to be bakers, or whatever it is. We know that there are people out there who make claims that aren't necessarily the truth. So here I was at the Spiritual Church. I'd gone with friends of mine, which was a big, big, big mistake. My daughter was there with me, and a group of friends, and we all sat on one row, sort of fairly towards the back of the church. And then I see this lady who is sort of walking onto the stage, and she was wearing pants, trousers, over which she wore an overall, over which she wore a sweater. The layers were getting shorter and shorter, so you could see all of this, over which she wore a very large, very baggy cardigan, which was open. Okay. So her hair was unwashed. Her clothes were not the cleanest. And suddenly I realized that she was going to be the medium. She was going to be the speaker for the night, and she was going to obviously give messages. And I immediately went to judgment because she looked really, really scruffy and dirty and whatever. And then I chastised myself because I reminded myself, just because somebody does not look the part does not mean that they can't do what they're supposed to do. So that was fine. So then I corrected myself, and I thought, pay attention to this. This might be fun. It might be, something that, we can work with, and we might learn something from this. Until she began, she had a very northern accent, which was hard to understand for me, definitely. But she's standing on the stage, and she starts to give messages which nobody understands. And at this point, I know I'm understanding that this person, as nice as she might have been, should not have been doing this job. But the sleeve and the hole and all of that. So at some point, she stands in the middle of the stage, and I can only tell you it's pretense, because it certainly wasn't real. Maybe she really thought it was, and maybe whatever, but I'm being nice now. But anyway, she's standing there, and she points to this person in the congregation, and then she proceeds to close her eyes. She's going into this trance state, supposedly, and she starts to say, I can see, and her hands are going like this. I can see a big hole. Now, it's a hole, but she saw this big hole. And I'm watching her and I'm stunned, right? And she keeps going, and this big hole, and I can see this big hole. Well, at some point, my daughter starts to laugh. Quietly at first, and I nudge her, and then I start to giggle myself because she's 10 minutes later, she's still going on about this big hole she can see. And every time she says, I can see this big hole, and she has this baggy cardigan like that with her hand. And when she does that, I'm gone. I am gone, because anything to do with noses is not good for me. And my daughter is bent over double in her seat, and then I have put my head down so I can't laugh. It's just not the place to it's a horrible thing to do. And then I look at all of my friends, and we're all taking up the whole row, and they're all bent double, some of them with tears streaming down their faces and laughing. And I'm thinking, and I had to grip myself and I had to hold it together, because this poor woman is still on the stage saying, I can see this hole, a big giant hole. And we lost it. And I didn't know quite what to do. Should I leave the church, because that would be awful, or should I stay and put up with it? And after all of this, I mean, I really chastised my daughter. You can't do that. It's not a nice thing to do. But unfortunately, this woman wasn't getting anywhere. She wasn't getting anywhere with the messages. And then she made this mistake of coming to one of my students, gave him a message. I'm sorry, it was very polite. I don't understand. And she said, and she proceeded to tell him she saw a death and an accident, and he would know what she talked about. So you have to be really careful who you go to, because luckily my friend was fine. We know of cheats and charlatans, but if you call them out, they can put a curse on you even. And, little seeds are dangerous things, which is why you need to be really, really, really very careful who you listen to. And when you see someone like that who is an obvious charlatan, my advice is get up, walk out. If you've gone to see somebody, don't pay. Do not pay. If I can't do my job, I tell people I will not charge you. I'll refund your money immediately, which on rare occasions we do, but fortunately not too often. So be very, very careful when you go to see someone like me, or you join in with like this for this afternoon, for instance. Be very careful, even with me. Make sure that you listen attentively. And if it doesn't make sense to you, or if it's obviously, as in this case, I can see a big hole, and you try keeping from laughing when that happens to you. That cardigan sleeve went across her nose so many times. It was so awful for me to watch. Thank you so much, Violet, for reminding me of that story. But it is a good lesson, because, as Violet said, funny but not so funny when she basically threatened one of my students, my friends who would come. You're gonna be in an accident and there's death, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You have to be so careful who you listen to. And if you don't trust them or don't believe them, or they've not given you anything, tell them no thanks. Give me my money back, or I'm not paying you. Don't pay. Walk out. Don't pay, because when you mess with things like this, people are very vulnerable. You have to be very careful. People come to see me when they're vulnerable, when they're in a vulnerable state and they need something. It's my job to make sure that I do the best I can for them. And if for any reason I can't do it, which is rare, but it happens occasionally, then then I would never charge if I felt that I hadn't done a good job. I would never charge. So anyway, so there you are. That's it. I've told the story. Do we have any more questions, Chris? Because I'm getting off here in a minute. I can't believe I just told that awful story. This big old wall. I can't believe I told it. But anyway, anything else, Chris?
No, but Violet's laughing.
Yeah, well, she would. Hold on. Yeah, we have a
question.
Yes.
Can we use like a ring for this afternoon too? Would that work?
We're not doing psychometry.
Oh.
For the pendulum.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary Lou's asking, can I use a ring? Yes. So here's what you would do. Hold on a minute. So this is what you do. So you get a ring or something. Preferably it belongs to you and nobody else. And you thread. You can use. It doesn't matter what. You can have a chain. You can use wool or fine string. It's got to be fairly fine, fairly thin though. You can even use, cotton thread, whatever it is, as long as it's hanging. And then we're going to show you what it is you have to do with it. I'm going to give you the do's and don'ts of it as well. Okay, that's it. Remember, we have our live and in-person event on November the 19th. You need to start and get tickets if you're interested. Remember, I've invited, what did I invite them to? Was it this afternoon?
Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. Oh, that's all. No, not this afternoon. Halloween. Yeah, I've invited anyone who lives locally or fairly locally or wants to make a drive. I live in Venice, Florida. Here I am. So if you want to come and join in for Halloween, that should be a blast. And we shall be definitely having spirits of one sort or another, because I'll probably be drinking a vodka tonic and maybe my friend will be having a rum and coke, who knows what. But if you'd like to join and come and sit on the sofa with me and have a little bit of fun, please, with no charge, you just can come, but let us know that you're coming. And then we know how many seats to arrange and how many of you are going to have to sit on the floor. So please, Halloween, remember it. What is the date? The 31st. And we're actually doing it on Halloween night, which is, I do believe, a Friday night. Chris, that's right, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's right.
I'm not sure what day it is actually.
Oh, it's Thursday night. Sorry. Halloween is on Thursday night. So, so we're just going to be sitting. If nobody turns up, of course they will. When I say if nobody turns up, I mean if no human turns up, we're still going to have lots of spirits. So join us then. That's it. All right, Chris. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Chris, for a great job as facilitator. Thank you, all of you, for watching. Thanks for the questions. You know what happens if there are no questions. I'm done. So, and I'm busy this afternoon. Hopefully, I'll see some of you at 4 p.m. today. You can always tell your friends, share this with your friends. You can tell friends, go on YouTube, because you can see it again here. And also, if you want to, you can't manage to join us live this afternoon, you can always go on YouTube afterwards and find it, and hopefully you'll learn something. So this is the first day of our tutorial. So thank you, everybody, once again. Please, everybody. I've forgotten to say thank you to Greg. I'm so bad. So thank you to him, of course. And please, everybody, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. And